is October 13th, 2021. This is the Daily Rob with the one, the only, the mythical man himself, the guy with the gift of gab, Rob Smith.
Hello, Stu. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
You're looking good today, buddy. I like the chili sauce shirt.
Yeah, I'm feeling
You're
very
a hot tamale. That's what all the emails I get from all these women. I open them up and I go, God, I got a hot looking woman here. And they never want to talk to me. They want to talk about Stu. And one of the terms they use is that Stu is a hot tamale.
That's a good term. I like it.
Yeah. So there you go.
Well, what hot stories are you looking at today?
Well, Stu, I'm just continuing to report on our loss of liberties. And I think this Jon Gruden story is a perfect example in that, let me tell you, people are not offended by saying the P word, the H word, or the N word. Nobody's really offended by that. It's a tool to squash speech. And they know that they can squash that speech. So that is an entree into squashing all kinds of speech. Jon Gruden writes an email to a friend of his. It's a private conversation. And he uses some of these words. Now he has to lose his $10 million job. The world is outraged. The world's really not outraged. Probably everybody who's outraged uses these words themselves. As far as I'm concerned, Stu, if two black guys are sending emails amongst each other, it's a private conversation. They can call me a honky, cracker, whatever they want. That's their absolute right to do. And people have the absolute right to express themselves in this country any way they want amongst each other. And really what you see, it's been going on for a long time, is using these so-called words that are so offensive as a way to shut people up. And, it's, I think it's analogous to what they call hate speech. If you use one of these magic words, then your conduct is hateful and you go to jail for a longer period of time if you didn't use these words. But if you kill somebody and urinate on them and then take a knife and cut their heart out, then stomp up and down and say, I love Satan, that's not a hate crime. So what they're doing is they're penalizing thought, and that is wrong, and it should be stopped. It's what the First Amendment's all about, Stu.
Well, I want to be a little bit more specific concerning this Gruden situation. So the emails go back a decade. So some of the emails where he refers to the commissioner as, an anti-football pussy were written during that time period. So the context is important. Now, this charge of racism that's been leveled against him, the way they are phrasing it as that he is playing into racial tropes. And so he essentially referred to someone's lips, but he has said that this is often something he does when he's saying that they're a large liar. And so it's just one of those things where getting labeled it is the big tactic they use opposed to the authenticity of it. Because once you've been labeled it, it becomes your persona non grata.
It's like when Howard Cosell called that guy a little monkey. Maybe he looked like a little monkey. I don't know, but who cares? But yet, they tagged him. That has to be a racial thing, But, if you can interpret anything as a racial thing, then you have a tool to squash people's speech.
Well, it's that same old thing that we see when certain analysts will say, well, he's so articulate. And what's the underlying phrase there?
That most black people aren't articulate, so therefore they're saying he is articulate, and it's
And that's the thing. That's the one that always gets me riled up, because I just want to say, you should learn another word for describing people, because I feel like that word is far more tainted. So now, when it comes to talking about sports, let's be real here. I want to go to the people that know sports. So Barstool has a great article out right now. I'll have the image of it up in the corner. And it's essentially about how this was done to get him just completely out of here. All these emails actually came up in another investigation. He wasn't even being investigated. The Washington football team was being investigated, and they found these emails that he had written. And now he's the one who's out of a job. They didn't like him. He's not a hothead, but he's always been a bad boy. He's an asshole. And it's just ridiculous that he's been dragged into this.
How stupid are we? Use some damn sense.
You're the head coach. You know, some of us, 16 out of 32 of us have been fired in the last 2 years. So I'm going to be a little bit of a on the rookies. Is that all right?
Sir,
there's a little urgency to win.
If I get out of hand, just tell me I'm a jerk and shut up.
Lots of his players have come to his defense, but let's be real about sports celebrities. Mike Tyson is well loved, convicted rapist. Charles Barkley is well loved. DUIs, assault, gambling, all kinds of issues.
I love me some Sir Charles.
And I do too. I'm not attacking anybody in this.
Yeah.
Pac-Man Jones, he slammed a stripper's head into a table, had all kinds of other horrible things he did, and he played in the NFL for a decade afterwards, after doing all these things, and has continued to have all kinds of legal issues. Peyton Manning, before he was drafted, apparently took out his dick and shoved it into an athletic trainer's face. And that was settled out of court, still drafted. Now, one of the most shocking things in NFL history was the footage of Ray Rice and his girlfriend fighting in the elevator. We've all seen it. It is shocking and appalling. He is no longer in the NFL. You know what? He's turned his life around. He's a great guy. He's a high school running back football coach now. He's still married to the woman that he had the assault against. They have 2 lovely children, and they look like they are some of the happiest people on earth. He turned his life around. So I'm not going to go around judging people, because it's not my duty. He without sin cast the first stone. And I believe that. People are innocent until proven guilty. And this is football. This isn't art ceramics class. You're motivating these players to do a job that's hard.
But more than anything, I want better execution. Are we clear on that? I want better fucking execution. I want you to get a little bit pissed off. All right, not a lot of people expect very much from us. Do they? Do they? You've been reading about us? Not a lot of people expect enough from us. I'm tired, man. I'm tired of reading about it. It's time for you to stick your foot up somebody's ass, man. I'm looking for a relentless, every situation strain. I want everybody to pick it up tonight.
You're hurting yourself every day. You're leaving it out all on the field. There's certainly coaches that have a more zen approach, but this is not one of them. So, Don Lemon, I don't want to hear your commentary on sports. You've probably never played sports.
Well, he's a little girl. He's the P word. I'll say it. You know, he accosts men in bars in the Hamptons, grabs them by the nuts. What right does he have to say to judge?
Gruden's issue, and if I'm being very fair, the most shocking thing he said could be perceived as anti-gay, but I really think the issue was Gruden had a long history of featuring quarterbacks for a long time that weren't getting enough press, and instead Michael Sams was getting all this press. Michael Sams never played an NFL game. He only played preseason. He was cut. He was not a good player. He was a 7th round draft pick. Half the other players in the 7th round didn't make it onto a team. So what he was criticizing was the hype around this player opposed to the ones that actually should be focused on. And so the whole thing comes down to the NFL wants to keep their squeaky clean image. Every year they have some big travesty drama thing. And essentially this good coach is being sacrificed so they don't have to really deal with the problems at hand.
Well, I think Gruden was right when he called the commissioner a pussy. These people don't have any balls. Yeah, I think you're right. He's set up. You can always, since it's so easy to make these allegations against somebody didn't want him in that job.
Yeah.
Stu, I grew up in a different time. I played sports with black guys and white guys. Racial epithets were flying around. Everybody laughed and kidded each other. It's a free country. You ought to be able, amongst friends or in private, to say whatever you want. Football is a sport amongst men, and men say things like that. And men understand that generally these things don't mean anything. It's just the way we banter with one another. So again, this is what I say to them.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, I still remember Bobby Knight. Bobby Knight certainly was a coach that I thought
Bobby Knight was an English teacher at IU. He was a learned guy. He was more than just a coach.
Yeah.
And they loved him.
Let me answer that. You know, that is an absolute crock of. You know, you people in the news media, all of you dwell on some negative piece of like that. And I don't know how Steve feels about it, but it just and you don't have to bleep one single.
Just remember, when you're at a game and you see grass, it's the opposite side of the ball. But if you see hardwood out there, it's the other end of the floor. Try to help you young guys in this profession you've chosen that's 1 or 2 steps above prostitution.
Let's just start all this again. Now, I'm not here to argue the thing with you. I'm not going to debate things with you and people from television. You know, you want an answer from me, you get the answer. You don't like an answer, then don't use the program, okay? In my entire adult life, I've never used the expression game face. I have no idea what it means or what you're supposed to do. When my time on earth is gone and my activities here are past, I want they bury me upside down and my critics can kiss my.
Another story is it has to do with corruption, and this is so Biden cancels the Keystone Pipeline. Well, there is another pipeline owned by the Chinese. It's the name of it is Sinopec. Its profits are way up because it's transporting more oil and gas. Guess who has an ownership in that pipeline?
Is it the beautiful one, the sensitive soul, the crackhead, Hunter Biden?
Yes. And of course, this is a gratuitous deal where he's just giving money. Actually, he's given money by the Chinese to invest, and then again, they invest in these Chinese entities, and he gets his 10% or more. And what is big? Yeah, but it's obscene. Along those lines, on a radio talk show in St. Louis, a CIA and State Department employee, he was on the Joe Hoff show, and he talked about how the CIA has been totally politicized. And this is what he said. The effort to go after Trump evolved. It didn't start from the beginning with a well-known coordinated plan. In the summer of 2015, the Central Intelligence Agency was helping collect information and working with foreign governments, particularly the Brits and MI6, to dig up dirt on not just Trump, but all Republican presidential candidates and Bernie Sanders. They were working on behalf of Hillary Clinton. So during the Obama administration, we know this, they put these deep moles, into the State Department, into the CIA, into the DOJ, and they're just like the fellow travelers in the 30s and 40s. They're there to spy and disrupt the body politic in favor of Marxism, basically. It's unbelievable. As a learned man of science, do you think Kamala said anything of note in her video with the little children, the actors, the other day?
No, she didn't say anything really factual. She didn't mention the first female Black scientist to go to space, Mae Jemison, who has been on Star Trek. All she said was follow your dreams. It had no substance, no scientific fact. And this is just another example of this current administration putting out essentially fake videos. We saw the fake White House set a few weeks ago. Now we have a fake, not even scientific NASA propaganda with paid actors, because Kamala is so unappealing that actual real children would not even have an emotional response to her.
When you were a little girl, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be a lawyer. I actually did.
That is why you fail.
I mean, this is just getting into a really just dystopian reality.
It reminds me of the Soviet propaganda film Potemkin. It's springtime in Kamiland, and they close the umbrellas and the sun comes out. I thought the acting was really over the top. And by the way, do you know why Biden has his fake White House?
I imagine it's because he's not living there.
Well, because he can't read. So what you don't see there is what he's looking at a huge screen, and he's got folks trying to coach him in front of him while he's speaking that he can't do in other places. It's got lots of audio visual stuff.
Okay, that's fair. So the stories that I'm kind of focusing on right now concern that the EU has pledged to give Afghanistan 1 billion euros, which is essentially $1.15 billion. And at the same time, the G20 had an emergency meeting. And do you want to guess which two nations did not show up?
To give money away? Well, Russia and China, probably.
You are dead on the money. So the two countries with strong leaders weren't going to waste their time discussing it. Yeah. Meanwhile, we're giving money over. Now, China said something I think I agree with. So China wants all the offshore assets that Afghanistan has to essentially be given back to them and all the tariffs to be raised. And so essentially, Afghanistan's assets that are abroad are being frozen so the Taliban can't use them. And most of these assets are in the UK and the United States. So when we kind of talk about, we're going to have this giant crisis in Afghanistan, the reality of the situation is that we're also causing it partially. So the New York Times has come out already and said we need to give them aid. UNICEF has said that there are 10 million children who are at risk. Now, the reality of the situation is the two countries left on Earth that still get polio are Pakistan and Afghanistan. This hasn't changed. This has been the case. There's always been an issue here. This is a country that's the size of Texas, with the terrain of Colorado, they're perpetually in a state of just disaster. Now,
well, they have money, Stu, but they don't care about those children is the issue.
well,
And
and
all the
another
money given to them in the world's not going to change anything but enable bad conduct.
and so the way that they're selling this to people is that the UN is going to be given all this money to essentially give it to the people in need in Afghanistan. But
And of
the
course,
whole
we
thing
fund what
is,
percentage of the UN? It's over 50%.
well, and then another aspect to this is if the Taliban can't take care of the people, then that creates a power vacuum where someone else can come into power and actually help fix the country. So once again, we are just meddling and meddling and meddling, and it doesn't get fixed. But we just keep throwing money at it and keep throwing money at it, while also taking away their money by having their assets frozen.
Well, if nation building is wrong, which I think it is, and now that's what everybody says, then why is throwing money at a problem not nation building? I mean, let them. All you're doing is enabling bad behavior. It's just incredibly stupid.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Russia and China, they're right. They're not going to waste their time on it.
Well, and they just laugh at us.
Exactly. Now, another thing is pretty interesting. In France, a young man was arrested, 19-year-old, and that is because he used Marcon's QR code vaccine passport at a hospital to get in. So he was arrested for essentially that joke. And then another person in France got essentially a 10,000 euro fine for photoshopping Marcon's head onto Hitler concerning all of the vaccine mandates and passports and all that stuff. So
again, you're seeing the same thing in other Western countries. It's totalitarianism.
Yeah, you can't even make fun of these people.
Right.
Or they will, come to your house in the middle of the night. And
how can you not make fun of a Frenchman? I mean, they're the easiest target in the world.
And then a interesting piece of local news is that Barry has been tapped to come to Virginia to speak. And it seems like the Democratic establishment is pulling out all the stops. We have the Dr. Joe Biden herself coming to Virginia. We got Obama coming to Virginia. So they are worried that Virginia might flip. And, I'm in it for the chaos that's going to ensue.
Yeah, I hope to start some chants outside of the gathering. But, Glenn Youngkin really has an opportunity here. And Glenn, if you're listening, remember, I know everything. Loudoun County, they had a trans, whatever you call them, man, woman, fluid, trans, I don't know what you could call them, Stu. Freak, how's that? In the girls' bathroom, and he raped her. The Loudoun County School Board covered it up. They've told the citizenry nothing like that has happened. They moved the freak to another school. Guess what he did there? He assaulted another girl in the bathroom. Okay. Well, the girl's father was going to speak at a school board meeting, and they detained him such that he wouldn't speak. This is the school board. This is the communist school board. People in Loudoun County and Northern Virginia ought to be outraged, and they ought to be outraged at Terry McCullough for his statements. And this is a real opportunity, I think, for Youngkin to grab a huge chunk of that Northern Virginia vote, which he needs to win.
And Loudoun County is one of the richest counties in the United States of America. So if it can happen there, it can happen anywhere,
Yeah.
So corruption abounds. But, I think my prediction at the beginning of the week that this would be a crazy news cycle is already into full effect.
Stu, you're prophetic.
Well, we are related to one of the greatest prophets of all time, so
We are that. He's got a book named after him.
he does. Well, any words of wisdom to close us out today?
Stu, I thought I would read a little bit from one of my great political heroes, Edmund Burke, British Whig, parliamentarian, economist, philosopher.
Irishman?
Pardon?
Irishman?
I would say he's Anglo-Irish, Stu. You know, Cromwell killed everybody, and then he sent a bunch of Scots and borderland folks there. And so he's Anglo-Irish, I believe.
Okay.
Okay. Nobody made a greater mistake than he who did nothing because he could do only a little. When bad men combine, the good must associate, else they will fall one by one, and unpitied sacrificed in a contemptible struggle. People will not look forward to posterity who never look backward to their ancestors. The greater the power, the more dangerous the abuse. Ambition can creep as well as soar. Good order is the foundation of all things. The people never give up their liberties, but under some delusion. So there you have it, Stu. His words ring true today.
They most certainly do. Well, right on, right on. I'll catch you later.
Go get him, Stu.
Later.
Bye.
I got a dream of winning a Super Bowl. I got a dream of being in a Pro Bowl. I'm really not into dreams anymore, okay? I'm into fucking nightmares. You guys with me on that?